Good morning, friends. Welcome. Matt Greer here. It is day 3 of the Songapalooza Festival, and I'm coming to you from Albuquerque. If you're watching this, I suspect many of you are also in Albuquerque. It's just a fantastically gorgeous morning in Albuquerque. Morning really is the best time of year here. If you're joining us from elsewhere, especially, let us know that you're here by popping something in the chat box. And even if you're in Albuquerque, we would love to know that you are joining us, and feel free to chime in anytime you want to this morning. This has been a fantastic week so far. I'm a little tired from yesterday and from last night, even though I didn't really have to do much other than sing in the tenor section. We had a fantastic sing through of the Robert Ray Gospel Mass last night, led by Bradley Ellingbo, and accompanied by Jim Arend and his trio, and 2 fantastic soloists, Olga Perez Flora and Jamie Flora. It was just a great evening. And so thank you for all of those of you who turned out for that. We've got one more of those sing-throughs happening this week. Good morning, Mary. Chai latte. We've got one more of those this week, which is Thursday night. And actually, if you're registered for the festival, one bit of news is that we're going to start that one a little bit earlier, 6:30 instead of 7, to give us a little more time to rehearse that piece, since it's probably the one that's least familiar to us. So we hope you'll turn out for that. And then tonight, there's lots of fun stuff going on today. After this session, Amy Greer is doing what I think will be an absolutely fantastic virtual session at 1 o'clock called Deep Practice. And I'm really looking forward to that. And then at 6:30 tonight, we have our first park sing of the week, and that's at Hyder Park in Ridgecrest in Albuquerque. Those of you in Albuquerque know that Tuesdays at Hyder Park are Tasty Tuesdays, when the food truck turns out. And so come a little bit early if you want to eat, and we will gather probably on the west side of the park. Although we may need to be flexible, and we will sing. And helping us with that singing, as they've been helping us all week, we have these fantastic 4 young professional singers who have gathered from all over the country. And they are with us because they are either current or former members of the Voces 8 Scholar Program. And we're very happy and proud to continue this partnership with Voces 8 and the Voces 8 Foundation. And these young singers, some of which you've already heard and have been leading us and are going to be doing some leading tonight and at Beer Choir tomorrow night. And then Friday night, you'll get a chance to hear all 4 of them, as there's going to be a lovely song recital live streamed from my living room just over there. So we're looking forward to that. And this morning, I'm happy to welcome as my special guests 2 of our 4 Voces 8 scholars in residence this week with us, coming to us from Old Town in Albuquerque. Would you welcome Mary Ruth Lown and Corey Hart? Are you there? Yay!
We're here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you. And we've even got your names in order. That's Corey on the left and Mary Ruth on the right, if you had any difficulty. Did you sleep in this morning? Did you get up early? Have you been up early practicing, or?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've already run around the block.
Good for you. I'm glad. Yeah. Mary Ruth was with us with the last group of Voces 8 scholars that were here 2 years ago. And Corey has been here before, although not for the Quintessence Festival. Are you all enjoying Albuquerque? Were you looking forward to coming back to Albuquerque?
Oh, yeah.
It's truly remarkable how different the scenery is from Boston, but it's beautiful. I mean, every time we get in the car and get on I-40 to come to the church, we marvel at how beautiful the mountains are, and actually how I made a comment yesterday, they almost look fake sitting up there.
So beautiful and dark. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's tremendously orienting. I have never lived in it. Amy and I have lived here since 2003, and I had never lived any place with mountains before. And so if you're in Albuquerque, you know the mountains are to the east, and that's just really, really helpful, I find, on a daily basis. So,
It is.
And so you are both in from Boston. We're going to speak to the other 2 Voces 8 scholars on Friday, Adrian and Grace, but you all are both in from Boston. You're not from there originally, though, neither one of you. Where are you from?
No, I am originally from South Carolina. We've got a friend here joining us. Yes, I'm originally from South Carolina, and
I am originally from Asheville, North Carolina.
I see.
Yeah.
Is there a rivalry between the Carolinas?
I like to think so, and I think the answer is very clear. which is superior?
I'm over here like, I don't know, is there? I guess there is.
Yeah, evident from Corey. There's quite a
yeah.
sense of rivalry. Yeah. So how did you both end up in Boston?
So I moved to Boston for grad school. I went to Boston University for historical performance. I received my undergrad in music education, and then I just realized as I was starting to get out in the world that there was a lot of performance that I felt like I don't know, still had in me. So instead of going right into teaching, I decided to apply for grad programs and ended up in Boston. And that was 2015, and I've been there ever since because I love it. It's great.
Speaking of rivalry, I actually went to college in South Carolina.
You did, yes.
So I did my undergrad in voice from Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, and then moved up to New York actually to get my master's degree in voice from Bard College. Loved my time there, realized New York was not my city, and then came to Boston to start a doctoral degree from the New England Conservatory. So I moved to Boston in 2016. Boston was very much my city. I'm very happy there. I plan on staying there for a long time. And I make it back to the Carolinas quite often. And Mary Ruth's parents actually just moved to North Carolina. So I think we've made clear which is the better Carolina.
Yeah, I'm from South Carolina, moved to North Carolina.
So and
Gotcha.
that's how I meet.
Well, yeah, I Amy and I lived in Boston from 2000 to 2003 when I went to BU for grad school, and we feel the same way. We loved it, and I think it was especially hard for Amy to live. Amy to leave Boston. She just really resonates with Boston, but it's also a hard place to live, isn't it? I mean, as far as cost of living and relying on public transportation and weather and stuff like that, it's. I think it'd be a challenging place to live too.
Yeah, it is. The cost of living is quite terrifying if I think about it too much.
Yeah.
I currently live in a 2-bedroom apartment that I pay way too much money for, with my younger brother, who is also a musician and is a former scholar as well, that you all will see very shortly in a little video. So yes, it can be a difficult place to live, but it's totally worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I remember when I started looking at grad schools, I was like, okay, BU could happen. And then I started looking up apartments. And I nearly had a heart attack, and I started asking around. I was like, how about a tent? Like, can I just, put a tent somewhere? Is that okay?
Yeah. I was going to say, loving to live in Boston. Fortunately, you've chosen a really lucrative profession, so that's not not an issue at all. That was our thing, is that it was hard to leave, but the cost of living, even in 2003 when we were there, was just kind of insane. But people do it, and they make it, and it's one of those cities people do feel very, very attached to.
Yeah.
So Mary Ruth, I have a video that will show off each of your singing this morning, a couple of videos. And Mary Ruth, would you set up the one that we're going to play that involves you?
Sure. So this is a group I've sung with a few times now. Specializes in this wild period of music in Italy in the 1580s, where musical conventions were really shifting. So it's not quite Renaissance, it's not quite Baroque, and the way we sort of try to make this distinctive is we use Baroque gesture in this performance. So we are emulating the Three Ladies of Ferrara, which was a 3-woman group in Ferrara, Italy, in the 1580s, that put on sort of private concerts, and they were very virtuosic singers, and they were very much performers. And this is our best estimation of what it might have looked like in the 1580s.
Terrific. So what's the piece and what's the text?
So this is T'amo mia vita, and it is just love sickness, just absolute lovelorn love sickness.
Okay, got it.
Oh, and it's with Alchemy Vials in Indianapolis.
Okay, Alchemy Vials. Let's hear Mary Ruth and a couple of her colleagues and some instrumentalists. Fantastic. That's really, really great fun. So did you do the whole program with those other two singers recreating this?
We did, yeah. We only did three of those wild trios because they're kind of a lot of work. There's a lot going on, but yeah, we each had solo features of more Italian music from around the same time. It was just great fun.
Susan Perry wants to know, how did the group learn Baroque gestures? Is there an idea of that you can read about somewhere?
Sure, actually, so Margaret Haig, my fantastic colleague who was on the other side, not in the middle, she did her doctoral work in Baroque gesture at Case Western University.
Really?
Yes, she is absolutely brilliant. Well, I guess she went for early music voice, but her doctoral dissertation, I think, was involving Baroque gesture, and she's just absolutely brilliant. So I learned by she was telling me what to do, basically. So
I had no idea that was a thing, Baroque gesture.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first time I've ever heard that phrase.
Really, yeah, it's a bit niche, but you find it in Baroque opera occasionally if it's of the historical performance persuasion. A lot of flourishes and contrapost and like pretending you're a Greek statue. It's very fun.
That's great. I'm totally going to look into that now. So you're pretty much an early music nerd, aren't you, Mary Ruth? To be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was your kind of gateway drug to early music? What was like the piece that you really fell in love with and connected with?
When I was in high school, it was Palestrina's Sicut Cervus.
Me too.
You too.
And Corey's nodding. We talked about this. Yeah, that was the first piece I ever conducted. I have such a place in my heart for Sicut Cervus. Yeah. And Amy was in the choir, actually, come to think of it. So yeah, that's a whole thing. We have good taste. So I wanted to ask, you guys have been in Boston through this whole last year and had been, I know, really busy gigging musicians, church jobs, and other things. So what's the last year and a half been like for you? And has anything bubbled up that was surprising and positive?
What a great question.
It has definitely been a difficult year.
Yes,
I think in a period of about 7 days, Mary Ruth and I lost probably every gig that we had within the next 12 months. I mean, it was truly terrifying to witness. And we were both very lucky that a lot of the arts organizations that we worked for were gracious enough to pay us for our time that we were contracted for. kept working for my church job, actually, wearing masks with only a few singers spaced out in the church that I was singing in. And so I was very lucky to continue to make some level of music throughout the pandemic. Certainly not what we are used to. I also do a lot of teaching. And so I did move on into online teaching, which I will be very happy never to do ever again. I teach a lot of middle and high school boys. So any of you that are teachers out there will probably understand how interesting that is, probably over Zoom. And I have many students that I have never seen in person, which has also been very interesting. But in the last couple of months, things are beginning to open up and concerts are coming back and things are getting on the calendar. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the major positives for me, is just seeing how supportive some of these arts organizations truly were. You know, they sort of came out of the woodwork and were incredibly generous in their support. Also, I got a lot better at cooking, so cheers to that.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, good for that, Mary.
It's also inspiring to see some of the virtual projects that people have had the creativity to come up with. I mean, the fact that you were able to do this whole festival last year online is incredible. But I've seen some performers who have really outdone themselves with putting full performances online that were recorded from their individual living rooms, and you would have no idea that they were not together when they recorded some of this music.
Yeah, that has been amazing to see, hasn't it? And I mean, we have, between church and Quintessence, I've been involved in, I don't know, maybe 6 virtual choir projects over the last year, and am so fortunate that I worked with people who could like bring that off really well.
Yes.
But it is something that is, I mean, the joy is in seeing the final finished created product, right? It's not in being in a room by yourself, you know, recording a solo video for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people find that really daunting, but what comes out of it can be just kind of amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Corey, you mentioned your brother, who is also your roommate, who is also a singer, who is also a tenor. And his name is Sully. He's younger than you?
He is 3 years younger than me. You all, when you see us, you'll have no idea that we're siblings. That's a joke. You absolutely will. So he is 3 years younger than me. He is also a tenor. He was just finished his term as a Voce 8 scholar. So we have a lot of the same background. We do get along fairly well. And, I will say that moving in together during a year of quarantine, I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but it actually turned out quite well.
So is this a situation where he just worshiped you and wanted to be you, or did you have...
I'm going to go ahead and say that is correct. If he were here, he would have something to say about that.
Right.
We both grew up singing together, and as we get older, we have sort of our own things that we like to focus on, and our interests have sort of diverged, not greatly, but it's interesting to see now we both are probably too educated at this point, and we both have very strong opinions on how certain things should go and certain musical ideas. So that's been interesting, but it's actually really great to have another musician in my house. I can sing for him and say, and I know that he's going to give me the honest truth about what it sounds like, and I actually really appreciate that.
Well, cool. Well, the video we're going to play, I mean, I noticed, Corey, as you were one of those people that was putting out creative projects and videos of singing, all of which I just really, really liked a lot. And I saw this come up, which is you and Sully singing a 19th century hymn, Sweet Hour of Prayer. And I just really loved this. And so this is Corey and Sully Hart singing Sweet Hour of Prayer.
Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, that calls me from a wood of care, and bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and wishes known. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief, and oft escaped the tempter's snare by thy return, sweet hour of prayer. Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, thy wings shall my petition bear to him whose truth and faithfulness engage the waiting soul to bless. And since he bids me seek his face, believe his word and trust his grace, I'll cast on him my every care, and wait for thee, sweet hour of prayer. Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, may I thy consolation share, till from Mount Pisgah's lofty height I view my home and take my flight. This robe of flesh I'll drop and rise to seize the everlasting prize, and shout while passing through the air, farewell, farewell, sweet hour of prayer, and shout while passing through the air, farewell, farewell, sweet hour of prayer.
That's just so lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It really is. I just think it's so lovely. So, was that like a cappella or one of those apps that you were using?
Yes. So I really resisted the online music making for a long time.
Yeah,
And
I understand.
We had a church in North Carolina reach out and say, could you all do a virtual recital? And I wanted to say no really bad. But that was the first video, is actually a trial video for us. I used the Acapella app, which allowed us to record and then record on top of each other. And it took some getting used to, and I don't know that I would want to do another project like that. But I have known that song for a really long time, growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. And a big part of my upbringing was Sacred Heart music, hymnody, and that music just resonated with me. And then the last verse of that song, actually, it says, and from Mount Pisgah's lofty heights. Mount Pisgah is the tallest mountain in Western North Carolina. It says, I view my home and I take my flight. So it just really meant a lot to both my brother and me. And I'm really glad that it came out as well as it did. I won't say that the recording process was smooth, because it did take some getting used to. But yeah, that music means a lot to me. It's something I always come back to. And while I love early music and I love concert singing and I love choral music, that music will always have a pretty important place for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. So both Corey and Mary Ruth, as I said, you will get to hear in a song recital on Friday night with their other colleagues. If you were in on the Vivaldi Sing on Sunday, you got to hear Mary Ruth. You'll get to hear Mary Ruth again Thursday night with a soprano solo and the Taylor Davis Magnificat. But you'll get to hear all of them on Friday. And we had this question from Joanna. What criteria is there to join in the choir on Thursday? I have so little experience with choirs. I would love to join you if it makes sense. Yes, I would say the criteria for these events is a pulse and a voice, basically. It's open to absolutely everyone, Johanna, and there are resources that I hope you have a link to. Let me know if you don't, where you can listen to a fantastic recording of the piece and see a score. And so I just encourage you to turn out because it's an absolutely beautiful piece, and I can't wait to do it on Thursday night. Both Corey and Mary Ruth have fantastic websites. If we could pop up the addresses for their websites, if you want to know more about them and see more examples of their singing and follow what they are doing, there's an opportunity for you to do so. And there's finally my cat, Trollop, finally made an appearance. So before we go this morning, we are going to have a trivia question again. And this morning we're giving away this beautiful Quintessence branded coffee mug to the first correct answer for our trivia question. I thought this was a reasonably easy trivia question, but I'm told that sometimes I'm interested in things that a lot of people aren't. So anyway, here's the thing. Since Boston is kind of the theme this morning, there is a famous composer who's generally regarded as being the first American composer of classical music, the first one actually born on American soil, and he was from Boston, lived from 1746 to 1800. What Bostonian is generally regarded as the first American classical composer? Wrote almost entirely choral music, a lot of it hymn-based, said a lot of texts of Isaac Watts. Help me out here, people. It's a beautiful coffee mug. What Bostonian is generally regarded as the first American classical composer? And of course, no one knows if you're Googling this right now, and no one cares. So
grab that mug. You got it.
Elvis, good guess. No. When Jesus Wept, famous canon. That's that's maybe his best known thing. Yep. What we're all going to sit here until someone. I seriously thought this was reasonably easy for choral people.
Jeopardy music.
Yeah. Jeopardy music.
We do. Need
When Jesus Wept, Boston, choral composer. I don't know what other clues I can give. John Adams, Mary, that's a really good guess. Thank you. Thank you for playing. That's my sister Mary watching from Washington, D.C. Okay, I'm going to give it 15 more seconds of awkward silence. And then I think we're going to call it and give away the coffee mug tomorrow. But this won't have happened before that nobody came up with the answer to the trivia question.
You actually had a colleague who was on Jeopardy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How'd he do, he or she?
He did great. He was in a couple of rounds. Won a good deal, I think. Yeah.
Do you think he would have?
Sorry?
Carl Yastrzemski. That's a good guess. Charles Ives is a great guess, but no. All right. So what is funny about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that I posed this question to our two Billings. Yes. Well, misspelled, but I'll take it, John Sittler. William Billings, first American classical composer. And now I hope we've all learned something. Go look up William Billings. Great stuff. And as I was saying before we went on, I posed this question to our two guests, both of whom have advanced degrees in music and both of whom live in Boston, and nothing.
I feel like I've let everyone down. Sorry about that.
So don't feel badly about it. Yeah, I'm just glad we got an answer. So John Sittler, I will bring you a coffee mug sometime this week. So friends, thanks for joining us this morning. Corey and Mary Ruth, thanks for being willing to subject yourselves to this. I really appreciate it. But it was a treat for us to get to know you a little better and to hear you. And so friends, 1 o'clock today online, Amy Greer, Deep Practice, tonight at 6:30. Join us to sing in Hyder Park. And also a reminder, because I won't see you before this other thing happens, tomorrow morning at 8:30, Kira Rose Harrison, fantastic singer, Quintessence member, and yoga teacher, is teaching yoga in the park at Batan Park. So you can take advantage of that also. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Mary Ruth. We will see you later. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.